Hey y'all, it is your favorite nerdy girl here, Nerdy Girl Reviews, aka Ross Barron, and we are back with another recap for The Dirt. Now streaming on Netflix. If you'd like to see the full commentary, keep me locked here on YouTube. If you're watching this on Instagram, click the link in bio. If you're watching this on IG Stories, click on the link. It'll link you back to my YouTube channel. And I'm now on TikTok. I'm available on TikTok, and you can find me under Nerdy Girl Reviews. And if you'd like to see my other recaps, you can catch me on solfritoforyoursoul.com. Stay tuned, y'all. She's gonna turn on the Jewish boy. She'll turn on a power. She's gonna kill. Now, following in our tradition of non-traditional Valentine's Day films, which I think are perfect, honestly. They're still great films to watch with your couple, with your mates, with your friends, with family, depending how open they are to seeing, because this is definitely not family viewing. Maybe like, siblings or adult. This is definitely for adults. The Dirt, and it's currently streaming on Netflix. But I wanted to review non-traditional, romantic. And this is not even a romantic coupling, but rather more of a bromance. So, and yes, I look kind of like a coupling between a mix between Mick Mars from Motley Crue meets Nikki Sixx, which, again, watching this film just kind of sends you for a loop and a rabbit hole, because before you know it, you're like, you want to know more, you want to know more. I had seen this particular film when it released. I think it was 2018, definitely before all this pandemic issues and whatnot. Brilliantly done. And the one thing I will question about this is, like, why didn't they turn this into a series? Like, it's based on their autobiographical book, which is the size of a Bible. I mean, and as many times as it's been reviewed, I think it was a New York Times bestseller. It was showcased in VH1's Behind the Music. It's been in a number of documentaries. Sorry, I have to kind of give that one shoulder, It has to stay true. My costume has to stay true to what I'm doing. And yes, I thought if the wig looks familiar, it's from Halloween when I did Elvira. Paid homage to Elvira. But I thought it looked very much like Nikki Sixx. I wanted to just showcase it and get as many uses as I can out of it. And I might go back to this particular look, but I'm going to see if I can brush her out to do kind of a Ronnie Spector homage. So stay tuned for that. If I can muster this trend. But nonetheless, I'm surprised they didn't have that The Dirt, the film wasn't a series, kind of like what they're doing with Pam and Tommy. That wasn't a movie. They've turned this into at least an 8-episode web series. So they could have done the same. I think there was so much details that they could have, like, I feel like they glanced over. It was like a quick sum up of what Motley Crue was, and not for nothing, they did a great job. All the actors involved, from Nikki Sixx's actor that they got to play him when he was a child, when he was a teen, especially that teen scene, oh my god. And that's what is so interesting about the way that this show was well written, in the sense that it's following very much the book. And the book, I think they all interject. Everybody has like their own separate stories, their own separate chapters. But one bandmate will always check another bandmate. That's not what really happened. This is what really happened. And and you hear like their inner monologues. Like Nikki Sixx, when he's having a confrontation with his mother, he admits, at least in the book and in the series, that he injures himself to purposely get his mother arrested because he had it. I mean, he had been through the run of the mill. Mom just, was not your traditional mom, constantly hooking up with different men. And then they thought that they can come in and father him. His biological father split. And then there's more understanding. Like, once you go down the rabbit hole and you hear enough interviews of Nikki remembering and going through the motions of what had happened, what had genuinely happened. He didn't even discover family issues until much later in life. Now, he had to go through the whole bit of him being famous and going through drug abuse and whatnot in recovery to then find out the real reason why his father had left the home. He has an older sister who had mental health issues, and she was kind of kept from him and kept in a home that he had no idea about. So it wasn't necessarily because it was a lot of guilt and self-blame that he spent years trying to overcome. Why did my father leave me? His mother didn't really make matters better in bringing new men to the house, and also being an alcoholic, and also digging into him as to, well, if it wasn't your fault, then why had he never picked up a phone to call you? All that plays into the development of a child, which you really feel like pretty lousy for this kid, and that he went through that. But thankfully he did have his grandparents that did look out for him, and they were hard workers. Didn't have much education, so they had to do a lot of blue collar jobs, side hustles, which also meant that they weren't necessarily always home to supervise him. So he just went from town to town. He's like a Midwesterner, which, because people are under the assumption, you hear the band, you automatically assume they're all from California, but he wasn't. They were constantly dragging him from state to state just to survive. He was constantly picked on because he was always the new kid. But his love of creativity and music was always there. He practiced and practiced. Although from other accounts you can hear that, initially when Nicky started, he wasn't the greatest of bassists, and that developed over time. What he was a showman, and that's what you get from this series. You can see how, and an architect of how he wanted that band to sound. So to that, you give him credit. You give him a lot of credit because they've gone the long distance. Where other bands, they're playing the greats perhaps, but they were kind of like quick in the flash in the pan. They were, as easy as they were known, they were easily replaced. They were kind of one-hit wonders. But to the credit of also the casting director, and I've mentioned this on my channel, the Brits are taking over, honey, because the guy who plays, the actor that plays Nikki Sixx, Douglas Booth, honey, you are beautiful. He's pretty. He's not only handsome, but he's very pretty in the face. And just his demeanor really comes off as if I thought he was definitely US born, up and coming actor, but he really embodies Nikki Sixx for this particular film. And also, not for nothing, Machine Gun Kelly. He plays Tommy Lee. He's unrecognizable in this film. At first I said, why does he look so freaking familiar? But because he's dressed like how Tommy looked back in the day, with a big old, mullet, or not even, it wasn't a mullet, but it was definitely a lot of poofy hair, a lot of hairspray, skinny legs in some tight ass pants, spandex pants, always with drumsticks. But I was like, hey, why does his face look familiar? And again, kudos to the wardrobe and makeup artist team, because he has so many tattoos. If you've seen Machine Gun Kelly, you know that he is covered in tattoos. So the fact that majority of the time he is wearing jackets, but the moments where he has a tank, they had to use a lot of cover up, and I'm sure Kat Von D was involved, her cosmetics brand, because they're really good when it comes to like covering up tattoos. It looks like your own skin. Awesome casting there. Pete Davidson's in the film. I think he played their road manager. Um, yeah, he played Tom Sutat. Forgive me with the names. You know I'm awful. David Costable plays Doc McGee, which is like, the one responsible who like launched their career. Um, but you can quickly see that it was a life that, most people, would probably say they regret, but it was a life. It was definitely a life. And that the fact that they even survived is truly amazing. But they went through all types of debauchery, drug consumption, drinking. We go through all of their past. Vince Neil's, vehicular accident, and how he, because of the crash, um, his partner who's sitting next to him, another bandmate from another band, loses his life because of the car crash, and he was under the influence. You hear that backstory. You see how that put a strain in the band. You see how Nikki Sixx's downward spiral, because the more they get famous, the more access to drug consumption they are exposed to. And when you're young and you're exposed to that much wealth, that much success, sometimes there isn't, they always say, right, idle hands are the devil's workshop. So, and again, all we see is imagery, right? And even the lyrics, shot at the devil, which, again, it sends you through a rabbit hole of wanting to discover more about this band, and how the record company was not having it when it came to that title. The original title, from what I've been able to research, it was Shout with the Devil. But, especially back then, I forget what the organization was called. Hold on a sec. Like with, and this just goes to also tell audiences and viewers alike how much the government can place its thumbprint, even in the industry. So the PMRC, which is Parents Music Resource Center, and one of its known leaders, or whoever ran with the organization, was Tipper Gore. And so it went through a number of criticism with censorship and First Amendment. I know Twisted Sister, there are a number of clips on YouTube where you can see Twisted Sister involved, Aerosmith, Motley Crue definitely. I don't know if they ever were in court, though, defending anything, but basically there was just a backlash back then. You didn't want to mess with these people. They can really break your career. So they had to switch things around. Other things, not necessarily. And not for nothing, that's why I'm donning this makeup, though it's reminiscent of Nikki Sixx. It was just because at the time, aside from the fact that he was this musical architect and was able to, band these people together, Tommy Lee and Vince Neil, Mick Mars, and all of them were experts at what they were contributing to the band. Visually also, although the band's original title wasn't all that great. They were going to call themselves Christmas or Xmas or something like that. But they wanted to find a way, they wanted to find their niche in the industry that hadn't existed yet. They wanted to enrage people. They wanted to get people on, they wanted to get under people's skin. And so up until that point, it was kind of like, we had glam rock with David Bowie, but we didn't have anything as outrageous as the lengths they went to really get that attention. And they did this, like, the big fucking, no, sorry. I don't usually curse on my channel, but the big ass, hair and the skimpy wardrobes and makeup and heels for men. It was unheard of then, So, and it's just the fact that the music just matched the aggression in how they dress themselves. And Tommy, like when he's, and then again, you discover that like Tommy was not only a incredible drummer but also a pianist. There's so much here, so many backstories. You find out Mick Mars's musicianship and his backstory of where it came from, his love for blues, and so that's why there's a lot of bass in this, and their music and their albums. So again, you discover all that based on this particular film. Plus their love life and their drug abuse. How a lot of them again survive by the skin of their teeth, because for heaven's sake, Nicky ODs like almost twice, and then you see his road back to recovery. But this is what I'm saying, like there were so many layers here that it could have really been it really had the ability or had the opportunity to expand itself had it become a series. So, but it is awesome. It's like an hour and change. And again, I link this, and I will link my other reviews, or because I reviewed the first 3 episodes of Pam and Tommy that is now on Hulu. But they kind of coincide, because remember, it's coming from the same book. And also, I think I want to say Hulu's new series with Pam and Tommy also incorporates Tommy Lee's autobiographical book called Tommyland. But nonetheless, it's like amalgamation of both books, to have some backstory on who these people were and how they stand out to this day, and how they've been able to stretch out a career that honestly could have fizzled out years ago, and it's been able to stretch out for almost 30 years. But how innovative they were, how creative they were, how much drive they had. They came from nothing and they were able to become the successes that they are today. Really fascinating stuff. Great acting chops by this young, talented cast. Music is totally kick-ass. And I just love and this is the point to this video, is that there's this bromance. Specifically, yeah, maybe between Nikki Sixx and Tommy. You also see Tommy's first, no, I think this was already his second marriage, because he had been married for like a year when he was like younger. Remember, Tommy joined this band when he was like 19. But when he met Heather Locklear, you see the introduction of her, why it didn't work out. But he had made Nikki his best man. Unfortunately, Nikki was under the influence. They go through all this turmoil. Vince also then goes through his own bouts of grief with his daughter having, I think, leukemia that she had. And they kind of, they all kind of come together. Although they say in certain other accounts that it wasn't so kumbaya the way they came together. There was really more the record company. But again, even if it's just in film, enjoy it for what it is as entertainment. The other thing I will also suggest for you to watch, along with Pam and Tommy, you should watch The Decline of Western Civilization, Part 2, The Metal Years, 1988. It gives you backstory of that time period, of who they were also. There are instances of their own accounts where they're admitting how crazy their life was on the road, how many people they had hooked up with. I mean, again, I like stories like that because they're truthful, and they're not the ordinary, and it gives you great sense of entertainment, learning of other people's lives and experiences. So for this holiday, I tell y'all, please watch it. Stay tuned. I might turn this into another style, but for this Valentine's Day, I do recommend y'all watch The Dirt on Netflix. And if I have to rate it, I would say be mine. It is too hot for TV, certain scenes. This is not for family viewing, just fair warning. But it is a dope film to watch, an hour and change. So y'all, if you like what you see, give us a like, give us a share, leave us a comment down below. If you'd like to follow me, hit the subscription button and notification button so you can be alerted of my next video upload. And until next time, y'all. Do y'all like the wig? I like the wig. I really do. I think it's like the most punk rock thing I have. But I'm going to see if I can turn it into like Ronnie Spector or something. Which I think it already looks like that. It's just so kick